Ladies and gentlemen, all of the authority representatives, this is my third appointment in this city, and this is becoming an ever more important moment for me, an appointment for me. Now, prior to thanking Mr. Fallico, the Foundation Conoscere Eurasia, and all of those who made all this possible from the historic moment viewpoint, let me try and define it. There are events that appear to be useful, others that are urgent, and others, again, that are important. This one, I believe, is a necessary event. This is an event which is mostly needed in this current international situation, economic situation. It is no secret that the global system, and especially Europe and Eurasia, are now experiencing a moment which is a happy one, and at the same time the history of the past 1,000 years taught us that this is when a new synergy is born and when it can be created. So this is a synergy which is now being created nowadays, here and now. It affects the policy of capitals that are being having a dialogue in relaunching a new happy moment once we will be past this situation, which is still affected by strong contrast. Our role, and I believe that I'm talking also on behalf of other ambassador colleagues, our task is the one of turning the contrast into synergies. Now, as far as Armenia is concerned, starting from January this year, Armenia is going to be part of the economic union of Euro-Asian countries. The Armenian perspective makes it so that we are constantly writing or rewriting somehow in a contemporary framework what our mission and vocation was, especially in the course of the past 3,000 years in the history of our own civilization, in that very specific, peculiar area, which was the place where the East and the West came together, the crossroads of the East and the West. So let me just recall a historic moment which is very special, which makes us think that there is nothing new under the sky. We are at the end. Let's go back to the end of the 18th century, 1700s, when a third of the trade, the merchant fleet of Venice was held by Armenians coming from Sheriman. Sheriman at that time and Venice at that time, at the same time, were somehow at the height of their own merchant power, and they were active within the League, Hanseatic League. Now, earlier on we were mentioning the Juliet syndrome. Now we've overcome that syndrome, and that happened when we believed in a different concept that is also a concept that was recently mentioned, that is complementarity. The complementarity of the project of the Euro-Asian Economic Union with other initiatives aiming at some regionalism or regionalization activities within the European Union. Now, I'd like to say that definitely within this mosaic, Armenia stands as a tessera, which is a very fundamental one, a crucial one. We are, de facto, adopting a complementary approach. We are transforming the markets and the capitals, and we are trying to adopt a contrast and opposing and synergistic stand. If we look at the bilateral relations with Italy, we see trade interchange activities that were developed in unhappy moments, especially that allowed for a growth by 93% at international trade level. And this year alone in Armenia, we registered more than 60 businesses that were having Italian capitals. And in the past 2 decades, we've seen political decisions, we've seen pacts and agreements which have set Armenia at the center of a network, together with the Gulf countries, with Iran, which is about to, as we all hope, open up itself to international exchanges and trade activities, to a market of 176 million consumers, of which we are part, and which is a highly vibrant economic market, extremely young and highly innovative. And on the other side, we've seen a global network which sees its own hub in Armenia, which is also the global symbol of the diaspora in Armenia. So we are now registering a counter tendency in economic and trade terms. Armenia, that's another obvious thing, wanted to be part of the OMC, and it's also a part of the platform and of standards and of rules, and that also allows for new interactions with the public administration. So in Armenia, the interaction is one between capital and regulators, which are being handled by means of digital tools. If we register a limited company, we can do that in 24 hours. But with Italy, we had to unilaterally abolish all of the visa regime. And in just a couple of years, this has led to remarkable results. Now, let me conclude by saying, and somehow repeating what I already said last year. In the past 24 years, we've seen a different approach to global markets, and that approach was characterized by innovation and resilience. Keywords, two keywords. Last year, I underlined a micro tendency, and I said that macro tendencies are born like micro events. A micro event was the high-tech, the ICTR, which in Armenia was still growing up by 23-25% on a yearly basis, and now the turnover is exceeding €1 billion. And the dimension of Armenia is now extremely surprising. So I'm extremely happy that, as opposed to last year, this year we still have here today with us 4 companies that believed in that micro trend and that have heavily invested in Armenia in the ICT market. So I will conclude my own contribution by pointing at another micro trend within the agro-food sector. Today in Armenia, from a paradoxical viewpoint, we see a market situation where demand in the agro-food sector made in Armenia is exceeding by large our supply capacities. And I believe that this is a situation which is very peculiar. The Italian capital, when wanting to go back into the agro-food Armenian sector and having access to that market, which is a market of 176 million consumers, is taking up a bet, and I believe that this is what we want to foster.